Hello, fantastic to be here and to see you all. And thanks for opening words, Philip. It's interesting because 10 years ago I would never be standing here and talking about electricity people, about branding. I just wouldn't have. I wouldn't have been allowed in the room probably. So anyway, I'm going to talk you through a little bit of what I've been doing and what my company does. And as we know, the market is changing. We can't do anything about it. It's changing, and it's up to us to be a part of it. And we have a talk about this, and this is following the liberalization of the markets. And with it comes the increased consumer power. And that's where I'm coming from today. From the consumer being a meter at one end to it being an actual person of flesh and blood. It has a name, it's certain age, income, education, etc., etc. So on the far consumer side of things. That's where I'll be talking to you about. Just on my background, just a little bit, I had my own company for 15 years. I've been consulting for many years. I'm on the board of directors of several companies and involved in a number of startups in Iceland and abroad. I do have a PhD on energy branding, and as far as I know, I'm the only one. So it was a bit strange when I wanted to do it. They wouldn't allow me to do it at my university. But I said, then I go somewhere else, and I did it. And here I am standing, and I published some papers and academic book chapters on it. But I think it's really important for us to realize that we have to look at the bridge between those two. We have to kind of see how the academia can actually work with the profession here. And just an example, a few of the Icelandic companies that I worked with. I work with Isavia, which is the aviation association. It has no retail consumers, but it's still doing branding and is relaunching its brand in October this year. I worked with Iceland Air. I was responsible for rebranding Reykjavik City only last year. Worked with the National Power Company and Orkusalan, which is one of the two largest retailers at home in Iceland. And they've kind of been in the forefront of things and doing innovative things. And way before energy companies were thinking differently, they were thinking differently, which is quite nice. And they are doing quite well. And I run my own company in Larsen Energy Branding. I am an assistant professor at the University of Iceland. I'm an elected president of EMARC, which is the marketing association at home. We select the best campaigns, the best marketing companies, the best ads, etc., etc. And I am a founder of Energy Branding Conference, the first one to be held on energy branding in Iceland next year. I'll tell you more about that later. So just to draw your attention to the screen, what are we looking at here? It's quite obvious, it's a plane, but this is a commodity. This is a commodity thing. It's all the same. It's not until we do this, then we see a little bit more. We see that they put some logos on them, but this is not branding though, this is just logos. Branding is not about logos or graphic design, it's about deep-seated strategy to do things differently. And the logo is what we see is just the top of the iceberg. So we can go a bit further, we show the logos of there, but the outline, Wizz Air is an Eastern European airline. Ryanair was the first one to come in and to revolutionize the flight industry. So, as Philip was saying, someone will come and change our business. They don't need us for it, but who will be the next Ryanair of the energy business? Where will it come from? Singapore Airlines, I chose that because this has repeatedly been chosen the best airline industry in the world. So it's on a different market as Ryanair, but still, this is coming. And history has a tendency to repeat itself. And that's a really good paper by Theodore Levitt called Marketing Myopia. Those guys in the big businesses, they think they're untouchable, but they're always wrong. Someone will try to push them out. And just to continue with a branding story, this is Iceland Air. There's a lot of airlines. They are a commodity. People care about price. They go online to whatever of those search engines and buy the cheapest ones. Most of the time, but not all the time. So Iceland Air works with its origin, because we are Icelandic, unique travel experiences. That's the brand mantra. And just now, this year, they introduced one new airline. This is they only painted one airline in the Northern Lights logos, actually. Part of the positioning being unique Icelandic travel experience. And they take it all the way. I mean, in the interior, you have this experience, and most of the people that come to Iceland during the winter time, they actually come for the Northern Lights. So it makes perfect sense to position the plane right there. And we go back to the nature, and you can see where it all comes from. This is branding, taken all the way to all the aspects. And we want to do this for the energy business. But it's not enough to show fancy images. This is a model that we work with. I will not have a chance to go into it in details. And I know this is going to be confusing just for now. I'm just going to start a little bit at the end here. What we are doing is branding energy in the retail markets. So back to the 1920s, when Ford was introducing the first car that was produced on an assembly line, he said, you can choose whatever color you want to, but it has to be black. So it's kind of it's not really a true story, but it's almost true. So that I'm in marketing, I can tell a little bit of lies anyway. So we don't want to be here. We want to give a good choice. We want to find the common elements and why brand matters, and does it matter for the bottom line? Can we make money off it? That's a big question. Does it increase return on investment? And do the customers care? Does the industry care? So. But there are two possible ways to go, and I'm sorry I'm doing this quite fast, and I hope there's going to be a recording of this, and then you can watch me in slow-mo, so you can understand what I'm saying. But we can do green, for example, and this is another slide with a lot of stuff on it. But we can't do any marketing or branding unless we understand the customer. And this is, I've given you examples for 5 different countries from our research, and if you want to be the green company, well, here in Germany you can. There's actually a market. Go 250 kilometers to the east, and nobody cares in Poland. Nobody cares. Well, you got a segment that cares, but more or less people don't care. But when they define what green is, they say it's skepticism. They say it's a lack of trust. It's always the same. It's politics. It's artificial. It's hypocrisy. It's a concern of the Western countries. That's what they say. So if I'm going to show them images of fleshy nature and nice scenery, I'm just not going to reach to them. I'm not. We go through a day, see 1,500 messages every day, that's what people say. So we are just not going to catch that one of showing us fancy images. So I need to speed up a little bit. On the core of it then, just a traditional branding, what should we be saying? What do they want to hear from us? And how is our business any different from the other ones? It is very different. At the core of it, it's marketing research and it's branding, but we need to take into consideration the specialties of the market. One is that the consumers some of them, a segment, is inherently against privatization and liberalization. So how am I going to brand to that person? I need to first focus on neutralizing the negative aspects before I start building up an image in a traditional way. If I was producing soap or a soda drink, I wouldn't have to go that far. I could start, in a particular place. So those are some examples of key points that you want. I call them points of parity. Actually, Kevin Keller calls them points of parity. All the research show that this is a commodity business. It's a price business. But there is a way to get away from the price messages, and not everyone can be a price leader. One company can only be the price leader. What are the rest going to do? Compete on price? No. So we can do branding, and this slide is just some of the stuff they need to be looking at. And then we have to need to look at points of difference. I, as a company, what do I do differently? I can't really look away from those. This is just, if I'm a travel agency, I do sell airline flights. I just have to. That's points of parity. Same with us, we have to do that stuff. And back to the model, this is, I've kind of put a lot of stuff on it and what we need to think about and how things affect each other. Again, I'm more than pleased to talk to you, individual session afterwards. Don't have time to do it now. But just a few points about branding. It does increase return on investment and marketing expenditure. But there is another way to look at it. We can't say return on ROI is now return on information. It's all about information. It's not what we think we are, it's what the consumer thinks. That's where their power comes from. A consumer-led industry, that's where we're heading. And brands are a source of differentiation. It's about being different. Then we say, how can we be different? Because we're all the same, we're a commodity. But we can, basically. We just have to avoid the so-called commodity trap. To say that we can't differentiate, we can. And let's talk about another phrase that I've changed, return on asset. I call it return on attention. Same thing. It's all about getting the consumer's attention. And it's hard. There's a lot of noise on the market, so we have to figure out what's our message going to be. But it's country-specific, company-specific. We do a perceptual mapping, and we do a lot of stuff. We go through particular modeling, and we try to do it. And it's just so sure that brands do have economical and symbolical value. So I'm going to leave you with this then, because this has been said already actually, and the market is changing and the power of the consumers is decreasing. And as I said, it's not really about what we think, what we want to do, it's what the consumer wants to do. In our case, there's a lot of regulation and a lot of regulatory framework, there's a lot of inheritance for the time before liberalization. We can't avoid it, but this is going to be happening anyway. And we can't ignore those changes. Well, we can, but our competitors won't. There will be a newcomer, like Philip mentioned in the Australian case, someone that is just not in our business. And because we weren't because we weren't going forward, we didn't really look in the rearview mirror, and someone passed us. Someone will. So we have to be at the forefront of changes. And we also, from the other industries, we know the changes, and it's best to look towards telecoms. 20 years ago, we are where the telecom in the starting point. And it's quite interesting that many of the people that believed you couldn't really brand a telephone company, how can you brand a line between two people? But we all know that it has changed. Some of it has to do with technical innovations, like a smartphone, but we do have that. 1 month ago, a radical thing happened in the energy industry with Tesla batteries. We don't know what the future will bring, but maybe in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, I go into the supermarket, I choose a container of the size of this glass, put it in my car and drive 1,000 kilometers. Then it's all about branding. It's not about what's in the line. It's not all identical. It's branding. I'll leave you with that. Thank you.